Hello, folks. This is Kevin from Good Day, Good Prayers. I hope you're having a great day. Today we're going to talk about the art of war. We're going to talk about some of the principles of the art of war, but we're also going to talk about some of the time frames. For example, we're not going to worry about when World War III began. You'll have some that'll tell you it's 63. You'll have some that will tell you in the 1940s already. However, what we are going to talk about are the many situations that occurred in the different time frames. The first time frame that we're going to talk about is the late 1980s and the early 90s. At that point in time, the globalists, the deep state, if you will, wanted the war to go slow. The reason they wanted it to go slow is so that they could pick up as much money as they could get a hold of as they were shutting the door on the human race. They were fully intending to eliminate the human race. But many of the things that came out of the early 90s was things such as the decisions that we've made and the progress that we made has gone too far. And no one can stop what is happening. And these kinds of attitudes are what caused the deep state to go slow in the 1990s. It turned out to be a very big mistake because the alliance, who was the opposition, and by the way, we did not know that there was such a thing in those days. It was unpublicized. The only people that really knew were a few people at the top, and that was it. They wanted it to go slow, but they never publicized to anyone why. Well, if they didn't publicize that they existed, obviously they aren't going to publicize why they wanted the war to go slow. And it didn't become clear until in the 2000s. And when we get beyond the year 2012 and 2014, we begin to see a little bit of a pattern. Now, there were a lot of people that were already in the process of laying the groundwork for the war, and there were a lot of people that were in the process of doing whatever investigating, whatever research they could to get everything off of the ground. And it was in 2017 when things really took off. But they took off slowly. There were things that had to be done immediately, so don't get me wrong. But there were a lot of things that had to go by very slowly so that the people would come on board. And that was the most important reason why the war had to go slow for the alliance. They had to bring the people on board. What was the difference between all the events happening real fast and the events happening slow? It was very interesting because in the 1990s, when the deep state wanted everything to go slow so that they could collect up all of the money and all of the valuables that were out there. And then all of a sudden, they decided it had to go quickly. What was the difference? Now, here's the difference. Had the war gone very quickly, the deep state would have been able to eliminate over half of the world's population. As we have discussed, they only wanted about 6 to 8% of the population of the world to be in existence when everything was done. The alliance decided that if it went slowly, that what would happen is fewer people would die. So you have a situation where a fast war from 2015 on would have taken out probably 4 billion people at least. However, the alliance decided, well, we're going to do it slow, and there will only be a few million people that will die. At the beginning of the whole thing, this is around 2014, 2015, they believed that they could get the war accomplished and only about 3 to 5 million people would die. But unfortunately, that number was way off. The good news is that they were able to go slow enough that 4 billion people did not die and will not die by the end of World War III. One of the good things about a slow-moving World War III is that with each day that passes, the chances of the Battle of Armageddon become less and less and less. And that is one of the important things. Now, the reason that I have called people to prayer to make sure that the Battle of Armageddon does not take place is because of the fact that if something were to happen that was unforeseen, it is possible that the Battle of Armageddon could still occur. And so we need to pray that that will not happen. We are supposedly seeing a lot of deaths here in the United States, and we have. I spent 2 videos talking about the fact that a lot of cities and communities, states, have a lot fewer people in them now that the illegal aliens are going back home. The reason for that is because of the fact that a lot more people were actually killed by the deep state than what was originally thought. Now, one of the most important things that has to happen in order to keep the numbers of people dying down is that things have to go slowly. The reason that they have to go slowly is because of the fact that the people who are alive today need to be able to understand what's going on. Now, if you're asleep, if you're one of the woke people, you are actually slowing the progress even more. That plays into the hands of the alliance. Believe it or not, you're actually helping the people that you don't like, which are the people who are trying to keep you alive. And that's very interesting because you're against the people who are trying to keep you alive, and the people who want you dead. You are actually voting for them, and you are actually helping them along. In the idea of the art of war, there are a lot of things that play out. One of the things that we've talked about and is very, very famous is keep your friends close and your enemies closer. One of the things that President Trump has been able to do is to keep his enemies closer. People like Epstein, he was able to make it look as if he was a friend when he was actually turning over evidence against him. And he allows a lot of people to be put front and center, and then they destroy themselves with their attitudes and their policies. This happens with the Democratic Party all the time. This is one of the reasons why the Lord told me that the Democrats were going to be judged, and that I didn't want to be in that party when it happened. Now a lot of people are seeing that, and a lot of people are getting out of the Democrat Party. In fact, I've been hearing on other videos and other people saying this as recently as yesterday, which is quite interesting because the things I've been saying for years one of the statements that I have made for the last 20 some years, every time there was an attack on America, I would say we were just hitting the Democrats. Why were we hitting the Democrats? Because the Democrats are the softest spot, and the most casualties, the most deaths can be realized if you hit in areas where Democrats are. And it's because they're woke. They don't understand. It's the same thing as to why they're going to have a real difficult time when they start receiving monies. A lot of the people who are woke are going to make major mistakes. The people who are awake are going to go ahead and do the things that they need to do so that they will be able to maximize the opportunities. This is Kevin from Good Day, Good Prayers, and we're going to continue with this subject, and we're going to get much deeper into the art of war. I want you to have a good day, and a good day always starts with good prayers. And if those good prayers reach the throne of God, well, that's your key right there for anything that you're asking the Lord for. So with that said, you have a good day.